Okay, this is the second video on factorising trinomials, and it's a harder type. So before you watch this video, I would recommend that you go and watch the previous video where we factorise a quadratic that only has x squared, and it's a 1 here rather than any other numbers, a unitary value we call it. And factorising, just to remind you, factorising, what we're doing is taking an addition sum and we're putting it into a product. We're making a product with two brackets. Okay, so we're taking an addition sum and turning it into a product sum, and we use a grid method for that. Okay, so this is how we go with this. So a harder type. Well, here's a grid. Again, first term goes along here. That's 3x squared. And minus 4 down the bottom. Now remember, this is your A, your B and your C. So we need to find what goes in here and in here, and the way we do that is we need to find two numbers that multiply together to give me the product of AC. Now AC in this case is 3 times negative 4. So that needs to be negative 12. So two numbers that multiply to give me negative 12. And the same two numbers must add to give me the middle term. And the middle term is the B number, which is in this case minus 1. And to find out what the two numbers are going to be, well, we have to find factors of 12. Factors of 12, 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. No other numbers or factors. That's all the factors. Now, the fact that we need negative 12, that tells us that one of these numbers, one of these pairs of numbers must be negative. And when we add the two numbers together, we must get negative 1. Well, hopefully it's clear. If we add these two numbers together, even a negative here or a negative here, it's never going to give us minus 1. Hopefully you can see it's going to be the 3 and the 4. So to get negative 1, the 4 needs to be negative, because 3 plus negative 4 is negative 1. So that's the two numbers that we need. Okay, just to double check, 3 times negative 4 gives me negative 12, and 3 plus negative 4 gives me negative 1. So just in the last video, it's not really negative 1 we want, it's negative x we want. So it's really 3x plus negative 4x is equal to negative x. So what we really want is negative 4x and 3x. Where do we put them? It doesn't matter. So let's put the negative 4x here, and let's put the 3x here. Okay, so, and remember that's a positive, just put a positive in so we know. Top one factorises to 3x, that's what we'll take now. And this one here, remember what I said if you watched the last video, when you've got a negative term in front of the x here, then you take out the negative highest common factor, which in this case is negative 4. We now, that's going to be one of our brackets, so we'll put that in. That's 3x minus 4. To see what goes up in the other bracket or get the second bracket, we need to say 3x times something gives me 3x squared, so that's going to be x. And 3x times something must give me 3x, so that's going to be plus 1. Because 1 times that gives me that. Now, just as we check to make sure we've done it all right, just check that this is what's that times that gives me that, that's correct. Negative 4 times 1 gives me negative 4, yep, that's correct. So it's x plus 1. And that's it factorised, that's us done. So you can see that the harder type are not really any harder. Much the same, well, it is exactly the same, it's exactly the same process. Sometimes you get more factors and some negatives are kicking about, maybe makes it a wee bit harder. So let's try another one. 2x squared minus x minus 3. Okay, so we've got to work out what that's going to be. So, grid, 2x squares go in here, 2x squared, and the minus 3 goes in here. Remember that's for A, for B, and for C. So again, we need two numbers that multiply together to give me my AC. So my AC is 2 times negative 3, that's negative 6. And the same two numbers must must add together. The same two numbers must add together to give me my middle term, which is negative 1. And that's my B term in here. Okay. So, factors of 6. 1 and 6, 2 and 3, nothing else. We need negative 1 again. So negative 1 means that it must be negative 3, because 2 plus negative 3 gives me negative 1, and 2 times negative 3 gives me negative 6. So it's 2 and negative 3, 2, negative 3, and that all works. Again, remember, the middle term really is negative x, so it's really 2x we need, and negative 3x that we need. Okay, and that will give me negative x. So these two terms go into our grid. So let's put the negative 3x in here and plus 2x in here. So factorise. Factorising the top, we get 2x. Factorising the bottom, remember it's a negative term, so we take the negative highest common factor out, which is negative 3. So that's going to be our first bracket, 2x minus 3. And our second bracket, well, we need to work that out. 2x times something gives me 2x squared, that's going to be an x. 2 times x, so the 2x times something gives me 2x, that's going to be 1. So that's going to be our second bracket, x plus 1. Finished. Try another one. Get a wee bit more complicated here then. Let's force x squared minus 4x minus 3. My A, my B, and my C. Set my grid up. First term goes in the top left, last term goes in the bottom right. And then we've got our two numbers that multiply to give me AC. Well, AC, when we multiply them together, 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. And they must add to give me, in this case, negative 4. Middle term this time is negative 4. So factors of 12. 1 and 12. 2 and 6. 3 and 4. Now we need, when we add the numbers together, we need to get negative 4. So that tells us it needs to be the middle one here. 2 plus negative 6 is negative 4. And 2 times negative 6 gives me negative 12. So that's the ones that we want. So let's put our 2 in here, and our negative 6 there. And we want 2 and negative 6 in here. And remember, this term here is really negative 4x. So it's really 2x that we want, plus negative 6x equals negative 4x, because my middle term is actually negative 4x. Take your values. I think I'll put negative 6x here, and I'll put my 2x in here. Factorise the top, well that gives me 2x. Factorise the bottom one, again we take out the negative highest common factor, well it's negative 3 is the highest common factor there. So our first bracket is 2x minus 3, and my second bracket, well let's work it out, 2x times something gives me 4x squared, so that's going to give me 2x squared. No it's not, it's going to give me 2x. That times that gives me that, yep that's correct. 2x times something gives me 2x, so that's going to be plus 1. So that's our second bracket there. Okay, that was our first bracket. That's our second bracket, so it's 2x plus 1. Finished. Okay, I think I've got another one. Yeah, I've got another one. Harder type. So again, we'll make the numbers quite high this time, just to show you one with lots of factors. So this is the last one that I'll do. 8x squared minus 22x plus 15. Identify where A, where B, and where C. Remember, we're putting that in a product of brackets. So a bracket times something else. Here's our grid. First term goes top left, last term goes down the bottom right. And we need now two numbers that multiply to give me AC. AC being 8 times 15. 8 times 15, that's 120. Quite a lot. And the same two numbers, when we add them together, must give me negative 22. So let's go for the factors: 1 and 120, 2 and 60, 3 and 40, 4 and 30, 5, does 5 work? 5, 24, yeah it does work, 5, 24, 6 and 20, 7 doesn't work, 8, does 8 work? 8 and 15 I think, yeah 8 and 15, 9 doesn't work, 10, yeah 10 and 12, right, that's all our factors, quite a lot of factors there. So let's try and add them together to get to negative 22. Now, the fact that it's negative 22, one of them has to be negative. Yeah, but if one of them was negative and multiplying, actually the two of them have to be negative, don't they? Because a negative times a negative gives me a positive. A negative and a negative can give me a negative answer when I add them. So both of them have to be negative. So if we make them negative and add them together, hopefully you'll see, is that the answer? No, that gives me negative 23, it's negative 22 we want. Oh, it's these two. These two add together to give me negative 22, so it could I easily made a mistake there. That doesn't work. So this is the one that we want, negative 10 and negative 12. So let's just make sure negative 10 and negative 12 multiply together. Yep, gives me that. Negative 10 and negative 12 when they add together gives me that. So it's definitely negative 10x plus negative 12x equals negative 22x, because the middle term is negative 22. So let's put our values in. So I'll just put negative 10x here, I think, and we'll put the other one up here, negative 12x. So quite hard here, we have to be careful here. Factorising these two, well the numbers must be a 4, that's the highest common factor in the numbers, and I've got an x, so it must be 4x. Bottom one, remember this is a negative x term, so we take a negative common factor out, and that must be 5. So we'll put that in, 4x minus 5. So 4x times something must give me 8x squared, so that will be a 2x then. And 4x times something must make it negative 12x, which is negative 3. So that's going to be my second bracket, my first bracket. Just let's double check it just to make sure, because it's quite complicated. That times that gives me a negative 10x, that's correct. Negative 5 times negative 3 gives me a positive 15, yes, it's right. So it's 2x minus 3. Okay, and that's your harder multiplying out the brackets. Very common to come up, it will come up in your National 5 exam, it always comes up under quadratic theory normally. It can come under algebraic fractions as well, when we're simplifying things down like that as well. And remember, we're doing this because we want to find where a curve cuts the x-axis. We want to find the roots, it's called, and that's for later on, further in the course. So just try and get used to this technique. You do really have to know it for National 5. Okay.